Congressman, appreciate you taking the time. I think you've noticed, as well as I have, the shutdowns are coming. Today, the calls to cancel Christmas. Meanwhile, a lot of Democrat politicians out and about, maskless, eating at restaurants in Cabo San Lucas while telling people to don't go outside. What's going on with that?
Oh, well, this is just the authoritarianism, the tyranny of the left. And what it means is, hey, we're going to impose our will upon you all. They think that we are beneath them and below them, that the law doesn't apply to them. So, you know, I mean, this is everything from the guy in Denver flying to Mississippi after telling people not to fly. This is the dude flying down to Mexico, as you were just talking about. These are people saying, hey, don't eat outside. Oh, by the way, I'm going to my favorite restaurant to eat outside today. I mean, it is a contempt of who we are as Americans and who we are as a country. It's disgusting and despicable.
And it's taken away, Congressman Andy Biggs, our actual right to choose. And I noticed that in the city of Phoenix yesterday, the city council basically shut down all sporting facilities. So these are kids who are already in school, out of school, hybrid learning, online learning, and they relied on sports to have fun. But now the city's saying, nope, none of that, because we don't trust you. That's the main message that I'm getting from so many politicians, Congressman.
Well, you're right. It's the elitism that goes with the authoritarianism. And you know, people who understand America, they understand that what freedom is accepting risk, assessing risk, mitigating risk, making choices. It's having accountability and responsibility for those choices. But you get to make the choice. A lot of these people, these tyrants, these petty tyrants that want to take away the freedom, they think they have power. And what I keep reminding or trying to remind my colleagues here anyway is this. There is no power in an elected official. All the power resides in the American people. They delegate some of that power to us to act, not to crush them, but to protect their rights. And that's what's disgusting and despicable about what these people are doing.
How's that message being received, Congressman? Congressman Andy Biggs joining us here on Russell and Hunter, that you have to remind your fellow congressmen and women of how this country operates and that we were founded on a principle of freedom and liberty.
Well, you know, there's one side of the aisle that all the heads are going to nod and shake, you know, nod up and down and smiles, and people, yes, we've got to do this. And then on the other side, they don't believe that. They don't accept that. They believe that America never was great. They believe that freedom comes as a gift from government, and that they think, quite frankly, that the collective gives them freedom. That is to say, you're only free to the extent that somebody else says you're free. And the fact that somebody else is, they're going to favor somebody else more than you, that you're still free. You're just not as free as the other person. That's just the way it goes.
And it's also ironic, too, that you have members of the squad, AOC, et cetera, who are trying to lecture all of us about success and what we can make and what freedom is. Meanwhile, you know, their base salaries are pretty much way higher than the average Americans. So it's a little bit ironic coming from certain people on the left trying to lecture us about how the economy works, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, it's not ironic. It's crazy. You know, just yesterday, I'll have to tell you this story. I'm leaving my office to cross the street here in D.C. I go walking out, and all of a sudden, here comes several the black suburban police type, and then there's one suburban in the middle. And then out pops one of the squad who has spent the last 6-7 months castigating the police, and she's got a police escort. She's the one who says defund police in Minneapolis. We need a different kind of police. And guess what? She's got a police escort. Well, that's the hypocrisy of these yum-yums on the left.
They deserve it. We don't. That's their thought. It's never been more exposed than ever. And if you bring it right back here to the state of Arizona, Congressman Andy Biggs, you had a conversation yesterday online with Jeff Mahaffey, who's the owner of Self-Made Training Facility in Scottsdale, because what we're seeing with him is what you used the word disgusting. This is so disgusting to me. I've gotten to know Jeff over the last couple of months. He's a Marine. He loves his country. All he wants to do is ask a question of whether the governor in this state has the executive authority through these different branches to require all these things that the government is trying to require. So he's asking questions, standing up for really his right and all small business owners' rights, and he's getting bullied. He's getting bullied with fines, potential jail time. The health department has even gone out there. They've gone to court to try to get him shut down because what they argue, Congressman Andy Biggs, is that shutting Jeff Mahaffey's training facility down will undoubtedly save lives. This is all nonsense.
Yeah, they don't have any empirical data at all. But moreover, that they not have data. I want you to think about this. He's got a facility, and this shouldn't happen to anybody, quite frankly. But I'm just using his special precautions that he takes. But make no mistake, this should not happen to any small business in America because every individual, I get to choose if I'm going into a big box store or the local retailer or the restaurant or the bar or whatever it is I'm choosing. That's my choice. And I'm going to accept the risk, or I'm not going to go in there because I don't like the risk. I think it's unacceptable. He has control of his facility. He's got trainers on board there. He's got, and each of them has clients. He knows who's coming in. They know how many people are coming in all the time. There's not ever been a single case of COVID spread attributed to his business. And yet they want to shut this guy down to make an example out of him. And you know what that is? That is Soviet-era tyranny. That is despotism at its worst. These are bureaucrats and an executive officer in our state running amok. There's no authority for it, and what they're going to do is they're going to bludgeon this guy because they want everybody to be compliant to them, as opposed to letting these people make the choice, the rational adult choice, to say, you know what, he keeps his facility super clean. There's never been a COVID case. There's very few people in there when I go. I'm working one-on-one. I'm generally healthy because I do work out on a regular basis. He's not letting in the governor and these tyrants of the bureaucracy are not letting individuals make these choices. It is absolutely a loss of freedom. And and there are people who are listening to me say, well, we don't care about that. And I will just tell you, it's really hard to get freedom back when you lose it.
There's no question about that. Congressman Andy Biggs is joining us. Are there ways that we can help Jeff Mahaffey? Because he seems to be the one guy that the government here is trying to push down and bully. It seemed yesterday Governor Ducey signed a new executive order giving him and his office more teeth. It sounded like to just go after Self-Made Training Facility because he's the one outlier.
He's not the only outlier. I will just tell you, there's a lot of people trying to stay open, trying to fight this stuff. And what he's going to need, what Jeff's going to need, he's going to need good attorneys. He's going to need public support and outcry. And the light needs to be shown on this despicable tyranny that's going on. And that's really what it is. It's an abuse of power. And the legislature needs to hold this administration, the state administration, accountable when they're able to get back in session. Let me just tell you, what's happening there is an abuse of the statute. I believe they've gone way outside the governor and his administration have gone way outside the prerogatives that are given in the statutes for emergency situations. It was never intended to say, okay, we're going to shut down and lock down for 6 months or 9 months. It was meant to deal with emergent circumstances, in other words, short-term emergencies. And also, his rights are meant to facilitate the use of government agencies and equipment and material to alleviate the suffering that's caused by that. It was never meant to go into some place and shut them down, destroy their lives, and punish them because you don't like what they're doing.
That's exactly why they say power is intoxicating, and apparently the government is drunk on it completely. Now, I do want to ask you quickly before we wrap up, Congressman Andy Biggs, about the election. Obviously, here in Arizona, you've called for an audit of the Maricopa County system. Dr. Kelly Ward, the chairwoman of the Republican Party here in the state, is in court today trying to challenge these election results because they did a small sample and ballot and found 2% were incorrect. So how do we take this next step to ask these questions about what's going on? And we're like peering under the hood of how the elections work, and the engine doesn't look so good.
Yeah, I mean, if you extrapolate 2% over the size of our election, that's 60-some-odd thousand votes that would have changed. That's enough to overturn the election. They found a different audit, a little bit more, with 1,525 ballots counted. They found a small percentage, less than 2%, but still would still be enough if you extrapolated that to overturn the election. So there's three remedies. The governor could call the legislature into session. The governor actually could, in my opinion, since he's wild with power, he could order the audit, the forensic audit in and of himself, or he could bring the legislature back and they could pass a bill to order a forensic audit. Leaving that aside, you move to the Board of Supervisors. They're the ones that authorize the 100 ballot count and the 2,500 ballot count, which I'm still not understanding why that was stopped at 1,525 instead of full 2,500. But they could go ahead and expand it themselves, I believe. And I know their attorneys think differently, but I've read the statute pretty clearly. I think they've got the authority to do that. I'm not alone in that. Many attorneys share my views. The third thing is, we're going to have to work our way through the courts. And so this is in the court system now. I'm not sure that I'm liking what this judge is doing, and what that means is it's going to get appealed. But we're on a short runway now, trying to land this plane on a short runway.
Well, at least we're doing the work. Congressman Andy Biggs, it's always refreshing to know that someone in Washington is actually standing up for our freedom, so we very much appreciate that. We look forward to chatting with you again real soon.